Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace, peace and beneficence be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. So welcome back after the August break to the class on Holy Mother's life as presented to us by Swami Chaitanananda in his book, Sri Sarada Devi, Her Divine Play. Now, toward the end of the August break, something happened that deserves our attention. One of the longest serving members of this community, he served as a member of the board, as board chair, president, and in other roles. Tom Couch, Thomas Jefferson Couch, Tom Couch, he left us. He left the body on August the 30th, a Tuesday morning at about 7 a.m. So, with loving thoughts for Tom, his wife of 24 years, Iris, and his family, all his loved ones, and all who cared about him, we'll observe a moment of silence. Oh, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma. So, any of you who would like to say a word about Tom, uh, please stay after this evening's gathering and we can talk as you please. Any of you who would like to send something to me in the way of a loving reminiscence and recollection of Tom, email it to me at Shankara at vedantaatlanta.org. If you have any pictures that you can send along with that, that would be welcome. You can find that invitation in our most recent newsletter, which you can find online, as well as on our website. So with that strong recollection of this stalwart of the Vedanta Center, one of Swami Yogeshananda's earlier devotees, and strong supporter and guardian, so to speak, of this place. With that thought, we'll go on. Anything at all that is left from the last time we met at the end of July? Anything at all that anyone would like to bring up about this book, this reading, Holy Mother and her life? Anything at all? All right. Haima, please begin.
Sure, Brother Shankara. Good evening, everyone. Those who joined just now, we are on page 686, Holy Mother's Teachings. That's where I'll be starting. In Shankara's introduction to his commentary on the Gita, he describes how a divine incarnation works in this world. The Lord, the eternal possessor of knowledge, sovereignty, power, strength, energy, and vigor, brings under his control his own Maya, which consists of the three gunas. And then through that Maya, he serves human beings out of compassion without any purpose of his own. The unmotivated action of an illumined soul, according to Vedanta, is called abhasa, a show. An illumined soul knows that he or she is not the doer or enjoyer of that action. The illumined soul is free from ego, devoid of desire, and does not covet the results of actions. As an instrument of God, that person serves others unselfishly.
Okay.
Can I read this one more time, that paragraph, Brother Shankara, that last paragraph?
Before you do, let's see if there's anything anyone would like to ask or comment on their own about what was said about this bringing under control of the Maya, of the three gunas, all of that. If there's any comment to be made, any question or concern. Okay, I think it is very important.
This is Jeff. I have a
Yes,
question.
Jeff. Yes, Jeff.
I understand basically what the paragraph is saying, but I'm kind of puzzled by the first sentence where it says the unmotivated action. Can you shed some light on that? Because I'm not sure what that means.
There is no personal motivation. There's nothing for, they act strictly out of compassion. Compassion cannot be said to be a motivation in the ordinary sense of the word. A motivation is something that causes us to act, even in a spiritual sense, for our own benefit. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. There's not even anything wrong in acting on our own behalf in the world, as long as we do it within the rules or understanding of Dharma, righteousness. But this is not what the Lord does, masculine or feminine. They act out of love and compassion, which are not motivations, because they are unlimited, unconditional. So a motivation is something that is done to create a result in order to. There is no in order to for these divine beings and illumined souls. It's strictly, they do what they do completely spontaneously, out of love and compassion. And we'll hear about this spontaneity as this goes on. Okay, does that get it, Jeff?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Anything else from anyone? All right, dears, please, we'll listen to this again, because as Haima has intuited, it is a perfect introduction by the Swami to Holy Mother's teachings.
The unmotivated action of an illumined soul, according to Vedanta, is called abhasa, a show. An illumined soul knows that he or she is not the doer or enjoyer of that action. The illumined soul is free from ego, devoid of desire, and does not covet the results of actions. As an instrument of God, that person serves others unselfishly. Holy Mother's life was her message. She was born to be a teacher, so all her actions and words were meant for the good of humanity.
Now, please, let's hear that. They were meant for the good of humanity, not just during her lifetime. Her words and her actions are teachings for us in this moment and will go on for many, many years. Swami Vivekananda gestured toward this when he said the words 1500 years. Of course, I think he was being just trying to give us some idea. But this is for the good of all humanity, for all time, for all of that. But in the coming age, apparently there is less reason to study these things in the golden age. Any comments or questions about that? Okay, please go on, dear.
Holy Mother taught the ancient teachings of practical Vedanta, renunciation, discrimination, purity, faith, devotion, meditation, control of the mind, austerity, skill in action, self-effort, and so on.
Please go over the list again, please.
One more time, yes. Holy Mother taught the ancient teachings of practical Vedanta, renunciation, discrimination, purity, faith, devotion, meditation, control of the mind, austerity, skill in action, self-effort, and so on. All these teachings are scattered throughout this book, but in chapter 26, we cited many of her teachings in question and answer form. In chapter 32, we mentioned some of her teachings that echoed the masters. Now we shall present some of her teachings as recorded by a few of her close monastic disciples. Swami Parameshwarananda recorded, once the mother was seated, surrounded by several women devotees. Suddenly she said, well, I have seen so many sadhus, but there was none who could compare with the master. A devotee replied, Mother, how can there be any comparison with the master? He came to deliver people, and those sadhus came to be delivered. He came to deliver people, and those sadhus came to be delivered. So the master was unique. Silently supporting her statement, the mother's face glowed with a smile. One night at Jairambati, I was massaging the mother's feet. Referring to the bickering and disorderliness in Kolpara Ashrama, I asked her, Mother, we have renounced heart and home and everything in the name of Sri Ramakrishna. We have come to work for him. Then why is there so much quarreling and friction among ourselves? The mother replied, look, my son, the source of trouble is seeing faults in others. Once this happened to me, and I saw faults in others, and I could not get rid of it. Finally, I prayed to the Master earnestly. Master, may I not see faults in others. May I see only their good qualities. From then on, that attitude completely disappeared from my mind.
Please, let's take note. What is the answer to our bumping our heads and stubbing our toes against something repeatedly that we know is an impediment? What is the answer? The answer is to ask the divine within, the living presence within, whatever you may call it, whatever you call her or him, whether you call on Holy Mother, who will then defer to the Master within her own awareness. This is the way it always seemed to work. But you may call on Holy Mother, you may call on Jesus. What did Jesus say? Ask, and ye shall receive. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. So all of these great teachers say, come to me. I will give you what you ask. So please read again this business about her answer to Swami Parameshwarananda's question.
Yes, I will. One night at Jairambati, I was massaging the mother's feet. Referring to the bickering and disorderliness in Kolpara ashrama, I asked her, Mother, we have renounced heart and home and everything in the name of Sri Ramakrishna. We have come to work for him. Then why is there so much quarreling and friction among ourselves? The mother replied, look, my son, the source of trouble is seeing faults in others. Once this happened to me, and I saw faults in others, and I could not get rid of it. Finally, I prayed to the Master earnestly. Master, may I not see faults in others? No. May I see only their good qualities. From then on, that attitude completely disappeared from my mind. If I would see a little good quality in anybody, I saw it in a magnified way. If you want peace, don't see faults in others.
And this was one of her very last instructions. On her deathbed, she gave this instruction. Look to your own faults. If you want peace of mind, my children, do not see the faults in others. Do not look at the faults in others. Look to your own faults. And this is exactly what Jesus said also when he remarked, why are you focusing on the mote in your brother's eye and ignoring the log in your own? So this is an exactly parallel teaching. Jesus probably said more about that in the moment than is reported in the Gospels. But nevertheless, it is such a profound teaching. This Swami Swahananda used to say, see the gold in others. Don't see the dross, see the gold. Any comments or questions about this?
That is true, Brother Shankara. I just want to comment on many years ago, nearly 30 years ago, one of my neighbor, I was young at that time, way younger than what I am now. And I was contemplating on something. He said that everybody has at least one good quality in each person. We need to focus on that. And that's very true. We all have faults. All of us are flawed to an extent. Many of us, not all, I won't say.
Well, of course we all are, dear. Otherwise we would be illumined. The very fact that our ignorance translates into faults in thinking and speaking and action, it's just as natural as the sun rising. We are ignorant, therefore we are faulty. But it isn't like there's anything wrong.
Right.
It's just that we're finding our way out of this dark forest by
Exactly.
following the path that the Lord and Mother and all of the great ones, the path that they have trod for us. And so if we follow that path,
Yes.
then we'll find our way out of this jungle, this darkness of ignorance.
Exactly.
Of course, in the jungle, there are all kinds of fearsome things. Well, we keep our courage, we keep our resolve, we keep our practices, and we find our way out of the forest, slowly and slowly. But every one of us has faults. But as your neighbor pointed out, we also have at least one good quality. And
Yes.
most of us have many, many good qualities.
More than one. Right.
So Swami Swahananda said, find the gold in the others. Ignore the dross. Don't look at the dross. Of course it's there.
When we start seeing our faults and see good points in others, the illumination starts coming towards us. That's what happens.
That's what Mother is pointing out, yes. Anything else from anyone? All right, Tues.
Just before her final departure from Jairambati, the mother instructed me about the annual Jagadatri Puja and the future of her new house. The Jairambati house later became a monastery, meaning those who take refuge in Holy Mother. That's the little mark there, asterisk, for the new house. The mother said, procure the annual consumption of rice, firewood, and other basics. Then there will be no problem for other things. We used to live in Jairambati as members of the mother's family. At the request of her disciples, the mother came to Kolpara Ashrama for a few days' rest. The mother asked me to take responsibility for cooking, though I had no knowledge of it. One day I was cutting vegetables, sitting near the mother. Finding her alone, I asked, Mother, how can one attain the knowledge of Brahman? I see various things with my physical eyes. How can I understand through discrimination that everything is Brahman? How can one have this experience of oneness? In the beginning, should one practice focusing on each object in one's meditation, or does it, meaning the experience of oneness, come spontaneously? I'm confused. Again, after studying Swamiji's books, it seems that there cannot be any liberation without the knowledge of Brahman. The mother answered gravely, it's a difficult path. It takes a long time to reach the goal when practicing that path of sadhana. Call on the master, depend on him, and he will make you know everything. What will you gain by worrying about all those things? You will achieve everything by the master's grace.
And Sri Ramakrishna repeated this over and over. And what he said was, he spoke as this personality of Gadai, Sri Ramakrishna, Gadadhar. He said, I knew nothing. And I remain unlettered. That is to say, he never studied in school or in any other formal fashion the scriptures. But he said, Mother, tell me everything. Tell me everything that is in the Vedanta, the Vedas, the Tantra, the Puranas. Explain everything to me. And she gave me everything I needed to know. And he said this in a summary fashion by saying, practice just a little, and someone will come forward to help you. By the someone, he meant himself and his direct disciples, but they are all nothing more, he said, including the mother herself, than forms of the mother, forms of the divine. We live in the realm of the divine Maya, and it is some form of that that comes forward to help us. That's why I say it does not matter by what name you call it. You call it by whatever name appeals to your heart. That's very key. You call on the divine presence, the living presence, by whatever name, by whatever feeling arises in your heart. Then the relationship begins, or continues if it's already begun for you. Practice just a little and someone will come forward to help you. Any comments or questions about that?
Actually, the master also said the same thing. For Kali Yuga, this jnana path is very difficult.
Yes.
That is why devotion is the bhakti is the best path. So mother also saying the same thing here.
Exactly. And it is devotion she's recommending. Devotion to the master, because he's the one who came out of love and compassion, no other motive, love and compassion, freely choosing his own birth in this prison, our iron age, to unchain us and set us free, as Vivekananda wrote about it, which is exactly the reason that Christ came, that Buddha finally won through after he said 500 lifetimes of practice, why Adi Shankaracharya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all of them, no motive other than love and compassion for the suffering of humanity in ignorance. So they come to dispel our ignorance, the eternal teacher, the eternal guru, the eternal dispeller of darkness.
Can I read this one more time, this paragraph, Brother Shankara?
Please, dear.
Questions? Yes. At the request of her disciples, the mother came to Kolpara Ashrama for a few days' rest. The mother asked me to take responsibility for cooking, though I had no knowledge of it. One day I was cutting vegetables, sitting near the mother. Finding her alone, I asked, "Mother, how can one attain the knowledge of Brahman? I see various things with my physical eyes. How can I understand through discrimination that everything is Brahman? How can one have this experience of oneness? In the beginning, should one practice focusing on each object in one's meditation, or does it, meaning the experience of oneness, come spontaneously? I'm confused." Again, after studying Swamiji's books, it seems that there cannot be any liberation without the knowledge of Brahman. The mother answered gravely, "It is a difficult path. It takes a long time to reach the goal when practicing that path of sadhana."
That
Kala,
path of sadhana,
path of
when practicing that path of sadhana. In other words, jnana or advaita.
Call on the master, depend on him, and he will make you know everything. What will you gain by worrying about all those things? You will achieve everything by the master's grace.
One of the things for us to understand is that Swami Vivekananda's talks that are in his books that this young man is talking about, that are collected together as Jnana Yoga. These talks were delivered to Westerners who were absolutely immersed and entangled in the most inauspicious kind of dualism. Most still are in the West. The most inauspicious kind of dualism, so that they have no knowledge of the idea of oneness. So Swami Vivekananda said, I have a mission to the West, as Buddha had a mission to the East, and that was to bring this idea that behind the appearance of duality there is this oneness. And he said, yes, it is only through the knowledge of Brahman that one will attain realization. But the mother is saying, for someone that is on this path like ourselves, we don't need to worry about all these things. We take refuge in the Master, or whatever form of the divine appeals to our heart, and ask them to reveal everything to us. And they will do it. Slowly and slowly, no doubt, but not as slowly as trying to be an Advaitist. It is such a difficult path. This month we're studying Raja Yoga, which is also a difficult path. There are very few true jnanis and true Raja Yogis. There are many, many more that follow the path of devotion, which is the one recommended by the Master for this time, or the path of Karma Yoga, or combine the two. Of course, we use the principles from Raja Yoga and Jnana Yoga. There are many principles, and of course, learning the practice of meditation, concentration and meditation through Raja Yoga is absolutely key to learning to control our minds. But devotion and self-surrender, that is saying, Master, I know so little. You can say, I really know nothing. Please give me what I need to know. And that Master can have any face, or it can be mother rather than Master. Can have any face. Because as Sri Ramakrishna points out over and over, the divine, out of love and compassion, takes the form that will appeal to your heart. The formless takes this form. He says it does that. And then when the dawn of knowledge comes, that form dissolves into the formless. But that's completely spontaneous and completely an act of grace by the Master, or by the Divine One. Any comments or questions? Okay.
Another day, I privately asked the mother, Mother, my mind is very restless. I can't calm it. How can I control the mind? She replied, my son, Sharath and Rako also say that it is difficult to control the mind. After a brief pause, she said, call on the Master and he will make things favorable.
Now, notice the two that she points to. Sharath, the General Secretary of the Ramakrishna Order. Tremendous responsibilities. And Rakal, the President of the Ramakrishna Order. Tremendous responsibility. They had so many things on their mind, so to speak. So she was pointing to this monk's leaders, the general secretary, who's the CEO of the Ramakrishna order, and the president, the spiritual head. He said, those two also remark on how difficult it is to control the mind. And then she said, after a brief pause, she said, call on the master, and he will make all things favorable. Once again, notice her answer. Call on the divine presence, the living presence. Ask, and ye shall receive. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. If you ask your Father for bread, will he give you a stone? If you ask for a fish, will he give you a serpent? No. This is the teaching of Christ. Ask. And it's also the teaching of Sri Ramakrishna, and for that matter, Krishna, for that matter, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Any comments or questions from any of you? Okay, dear.
Once in the course of conversation, I said to the mother, Mother, the condition of my mind is sometimes so restless that I get scared. I might be drowned in Maya. The mother emphatically said,
Emphatically said, please. She didn't speak emphatically often. That means sharply, strongly. She spoke emphatically.
The mother emphatically said, What do you say, my son? Why will you drown? You are the master's child and my child also. You will never be drowned. The master will always protect you. You have read in the master's book that a frog cannot escape if it is caught by a cobra. The master is holding you.
Yes. What Sri Ramakrishna says in the gospel is, when a cobra catches a frog, it may croak a couple of times, but it's finished. When the divine captures and holds your attention, there's no turning back. There's no turning back. You may croak a few times. That is to say, you may continue to express your ignorance a few times. But the master is holding you, holding you. The divine presence is holding you. And this the deep secret is you are the divine presence that is holding yourself. As Swami Prabhavananda said, the chosen ideal, that aspect of the divine presence that appeals to your heart, the chosen ideal is you yourself, no different. Learn to feel that living presence. That living presence is what is holding you. It has many faces and many names, but it is within each one of us. You are the child of that. You, the living being, the breathing being, Jiva, that you are, is the child of that living presence. Okay, dear.
On another occasion, the mother assured a disciple, even providence does not have the power to destroy my children. And again, those who come here, this will be their last birth.
Now, what does she mean by providence? She means fortune, the wheel of karma. Even that's what she means by providence. We call it good fortune, we call it luck, we call it whatever we call it. That's gestures in that direction. She calls it providence. Please read that again, dear.
Yes.
This is so powerful what she's saying to us.
On another occasion, the mother assured a disciple, even providence does not have the power to destroy my children. And
My
again,
children does not, the emphasis here is on even providence does not have the power to destroy my children.
and again, those who come here, meaning those who take refuge in Holy Mother, this will be their last birth.
So we do not need to go through the rest of this very dire period that appears to be on the horizon line, as Bob Dylan puts it, of this, of now. This is a dire time. And so if you listen to Bob Dylan's song, Crossing the Rubicon, he says, it's time to renounce. It's time, I turned the key and broke it off and crossed the Rubicon. The crossing the Rubicon is a metaphor for going so far that you cannot turn back. So this is, it's time to take refuge in the divine being, and it will be your last birth. This is their promise. Now you may have doubts. Of course you will have doubts. I hold out my hand. I pray to be led. Please lead me on. Draw me near, seat me by thy fire till all darkness is gone. Just pray something like that, whatever comes from your own heart. I hold out my hand. I pray to be led. Please lead me on. Please pull me on. Seat me by thy fire till all darkness is gone. And all darkness is gone means that which happens as we experience our last birth. Illumination and liberation.
Brother Shankara, that's a beautiful prayer. Is that something that's published?
It's part of a song that I wrote. I'll send you the lyrics, Jim.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
The song is called Here in Tantalus City. Welcome to hell, to Tantalus City. I'm not surprised your new bride's not pretty. There's a ringer hiding behind that lace veil, and she's hooked you, like me, right by the tail. But still I can like us just as we are, two such beautiful shooting stars. So there you are. That's part of the opening. All right. Anything else from anyone? Thank you for asking the question, Jen. All right.
One night, the mother was resting on the veranda of her new house, and we went to bow down to her. She began talking to us. Look, X made such a remark. He says that these boys are moving from one ashrama to another ashrama out of greed for good food. Why would my children and the master's children suffer from lack of food? They will never suffer from want of food. I pray to the master, Master, may my children never suffer from lack of food. She briefly paused and then said agitatedly, he says that my children move about from ashrama to ashrama because they are gluttons. Why will they not eat well? Those who have attachments will suffer. When the mother initiated a young man into sannyasa, he said to her, Mother, please instruct me now how I should lead my life. The mother replied, May the master protect you. He will protect you. Call on him. He does everything. You all work for him. Never look at a woman, even if she's made out of clay. The mother handed over an ochre cloth to a brahmachari and then said with a smile, now you will be able to sleep happily,
Yeah.
whether you achieve anything or not. From now on, you will be able to sleep without disturbance.
Evidently, this person was suffering from insomnia. Otherwise, the mother would not have made such a point of this.
Yes.
You know, he may have had a nervous condition that gave him insomnia. So she was saying, now you'll be able to sleep. What a grace that must have been for that devotee. Notice how Swami Chaitanananda is just like he has a checklist here. He's just checking off all of our doubts and fears and finding some teaching of the mother that addresses them. So that, you know, if we have a doubt, a fear, a concern, he's trying to find something that addresses that. Anything else from anyone? Okay, dear, please read on.
Another day, in the course of conversation, the mother said, look, you follow this instruction from the master. Adjust according to time, to person, and according to place and circumstances. Then you will never be cheated or confused. And always give honor to respected persons. Another time, a couple who were devoted to the master came to the mother and prayed, Mother, please bless us so that we might not get entangled in worldly Maya. May we practice celibacy and lead a pure life. The mother replied with a smile, what do you say, my children? If you do not have children, how will the number of my devotees increase?
The mother is so humorous. Ah, me. What a way to reassure them that their legitimate desires were perfectly appropriate and in her best interests. How will the number of my children increase and my devotees increase? How priceless. She's so funny. Okay.
Brother Shankara, that's a little
Go
bit
ahead.
of
Yes.
it's a little bit of mixed messages, though, isn't it, concerning the general principle that the brahmachari path is the best path to follow?
Well, dear heart, but it's not for everyone. I mean, the brahmachari's path is not for everyone. I can speak directly from experience. You know, Swami Prabhavananda drew me to him in 1973. By that time, I had already been married for 10 years. I was married for 47 years. Marjorie and I had a child together, and we had many godchildren because she was not allowed medically to have any more children. We had many godchildren to whom we were very deeply attached. When she left the body, it was Swami Swahananda who had taken over as head of the Vedanta Society of Southern California after Swami Prabhavananda left the body. Swami Swahananda saw that I was available for an assignment that required my taking brahmacharya. So I became brahmachari, Shankara brahmachari. But it is not, there is nothing adharmic, there is nothing wrong, inauspicious with leading a householder's life. If you are no longer as part of a couple and you wish to take monastic vows, please discuss that with me. That is possible. But it is certainly not required of people. I mean, as Mother, this is why I said Mother's just so beautifully humorous in her response. Please read what she says to these people.
Sure. Another time, a couple who were devoted to the master came to the mother and prayed, "Mother, please bless us so that we might not get entangled in worldly Maya. May we practice celibacy and lead a pure life." The mother replied with a smile, "What do you say, my children? If you do not have children, how will the number of my devotees increase?"
And so the instruction is that after a couple have had and raised 2 or 3 children, then they are to live, and this means when they reach their 50s and into their 60s, that they then begin to live as brother and sister and practice spiritual disciplines together. Then, of course, however their lives end, it will end in moksha or liberation. This is the understanding. But there is no imperative for everyone to live. It is a very sacred way of life to have children and raise them in a righteous, in a dharmic manner. And Sri Krishna speaks very directly to this in the Gita. What kind of children will be born to you if you have these intentions, if you're that kind of person? Very exceptional children. And so there's no imperative to live as a brahmachari unless you are no longer living that householder's life. And then it's not an imperative. It's simply an invitation. There are no imperatives or dogmas. Does that get it, Jeff? Is that clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. I hope that is clear to people, because it isn't really a mixed message at all. These people are being very idealistic. They're young. They're being idealistic, and they're talking to their teacher. So they express their idealism, and she responds in this very practical way. If you do not have children, how will the number of my devotees increase? This is just priceless. You know? Anything else from anyone? And any one of you that does want to talk about taking monastic vows, please discuss it with me. There are ways for you to take monastic vows. And if that's what you want to do, and you don't have to go live in a monastery, you can continue to live in your own home. Swami Prabhavananda was very, very emphatic about this, that there would be a new kind of monasticism that would arise after the 1950s. And it would be these people who took monastic vows, lived alone, and lived at home, and continued to pursue whatever way of life was necessary to support themselves. But all of their emphasis would be on their vows as monastics, so that they would be living that life. So that's very possible. And Prabhavananda even created a spiritual village around the Vedanta Society of Southern California. I mean, he worked with the board to buy property all around the Vedanta Society of Southern California They continue to own it. And the purpose was for people to be able to live in housing owned by the Vedanta Society and pay below market rent because the society was not in the business of making a profit, pay below market rent, and so have that much less requirement for them to bring in income so that they would be able to earn enough more easily. Anyway, if anyone wants to discuss that with me, please do contact me because it is altogether possible. Okay, let's read one more paragraph and then we'll call it
And
quits
then
for this
stop
evening.
there, right. One day after finishing the daily worship, the mother was seated on her asana. Her mind still had not returned to the earthly plane. Suddenly, one of my brother disciples asked, "Mother, how do you look on the master?" She remained silent for a while and then gravely answered, "I look on him as my child." The questioner was astounded. The mother merged into deep silence and I became speechless. I'll stop there, Brother Shankara.
Yes, but read it again.
Yes. One day after finishing the daily worship, the mother was seated on her asana. Her mind still had not returned to the earthly plane. Suddenly, one of my brother disciples asked, "Mother, how do you look on the master?" She remained silent for a while and then gravely answered, "I look on him as my child." The questioner was astounded. The mother merged into deep silence and I became speechless.
So the mother was speaking as the mother of the universe, as the mother of the universe. Every created thing, everything that exists within time, space, and causation, as is said in the Chandi, the Devi Mahatmyam, these hymns to the Divine Mother. She is the reality of everything, moving and unmoving. So all is her, all are her children. Every aspect of time, space, and causation is her child, including the divine incarnations. As Swami Vivekananda once remarked, Sri Krishna is but mother's shadow. Any comments or questions for anything before we wind it up for the evening?
Yes, brother, this is Jeff. I have an elementary question. What is the Chandi? I've seen references to it. I imagine it's a scripture, but I don't know.
It is an approximately 900-year-old summary of the Shakti path, the followers of the mother as their chosen ideal. Devi Mahatmyam, 700 verses to the Divine Mother as Durga, commonly and abbreviatedly referred to as the Chandi. You can find it online. Be sure and get the Ramakrishna Order's translation. It's been said by the Swamis that it's the only one that doesn't torture the text. In other words, it's an accurate translation from the Sanskrit into English of what is said. And if you want to talk about it further, Jeff, just give me a call. Be happy to talk with you about it. We read it here on Tuesdays and Saturdays, the 2 days of the week that especially sacred to the mother, auspicious to worship of the mother, at 9:30 a.m. Myself and at this point, two other devotees, both women, read the Chandi hymns, the 4 hymns that are in that book that explain who the mother is. The rest of the book is about the mother's actions during 3 of the former great extinctions that happened on Earth. And all of it, of course, is metaphorical as well as one of those great epic poems of the Sanatana Dharma, like Valmiki's Ramayana, like the Mahabharata, these great epic poems. This is one about the Shakti path, the path of, and of course, it's very strongly recommended by the Ramakrishna Order Swamis to those who they think will find it congenial to their heart. So the Swami Swahananda was the one that recommended it to this. And as I say, I'll be happy to talk with you about it. And you're welcome to tune in. There's a link, if you'll notice in the line of links, and 9:30 on Saturday morning and on Tuesday morning. Sometimes we out of consideration for one of the readers, we don't start till 9:45 on Tuesdays, but you can text me about that and I'll tell you if you decide to join us. Just text me on a Tuesday and I'll tell you whether we're starting at 9:30 or 9:45. And anybody else is welcome to join us as well. I'm welcome to join us both just to listen in or as a reader. You know, there are just the 3 of us now, but there have been as many as 5 at some times. And so we take turns reading. We read, one of us reads a paragraph and then the next and then the next, and we go through it that way. And it's very, very uplifting and enjoyable. And it really does tell us exactly what the mother just said right here. That the divine feminine is the mother of the universe and everything within time, space, and causation. Anything else from anyone? And by the way, that includes the quantum world. There's gestures in the Chandi. There's gestures in the Chandi toward the quantum reality. Of course, it's not mentioned by that name. It's approximately 900 years old. But you can see that that's what's being talked about. The subtle realm of causality and reality, the realm of probability. Anything else from anyone?
Brother Shankara,
Yes, Triguna.
I have this Devi Mahatman from our center. I don't know whether you can see this or not, but
You haven't got your
is this
video.
the one?
You haven't got your video turned on, dear, so I can't.
Sorry, I can't hear you. Just hold on.
No, still no video. It's just your name appearing on the screen.
Okay, let's see.
What does it say on the cover, dear?
Okay, let's see. This one, can you?
No, dear, I can't see it. What does it say on the cover?
Devi Mahatman by 700 by Swami Jagdishwarananda.
Yes, exactly. You got it from your center there.
Yes.
In Phoenix.
Maybe it's from Ganges Monastery.
Oh, well,
Michigan.
that should be fine then, dear. That
Yeah.
should be fine.
So how do you read it? Because I don't know how to read Sanskrit, but I
No,
usually
we read the English, dear.
Yes, that's what I've been doing. Okay, yes, that's what I do.
Yeah,
And
we don't read the Sanskrit. Rita Matthew on the first Saturday of every month at 11 a.m. There's also a link on the website for that, or in the
yeah,
newsletter. She does the Sanskrit. She reads the Sanskrit, and a group of devotees join her, and they sing some hymns in Sanskrit as well, and they do a little worship service for the mother. When we read it on Tuesdays and Saturdays, we don't do that. It's not what Swami Swahananda told me to do. And so we do exactly what Swami Swahananda told us to do, which is simply sing an invocation to the mother.
mm,
Ma, 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 bole. Ma, 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 bole. Ma, 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 bole. Dakshina Kali, Kali bole, ma. Like that. It goes on for about 5 or 6 minutes, that song. And then we ask Mother's grace. We ask her to please regard this with pleasure. Mother, may it please thee. And then we simply begin.
all right.
And
And
so you're welcome to join us.
yeah, okay, I have been reading this since many years, over and over again. I was told by Swami Swami Brahmarupananda
Uh-huh.
years back in Ganges Monastery. So I read the explanation.
Yes.
Just a minute. So I will join if possible at 6:30.
No, not 6:30 your time, yes.
Yes,
Are
yes.
you 2 hours different or 3 hours different?
3 hours different.
You're in Las Vegas, aren't you?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so 3 hours difference, yes.
Yeah.
So 6:30 in the morning, your time, yes.
Yeah.
So please do join us, yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Anything else from anyone? All right, dears. Oh, dearly beloved, a flower at your feet for each one who comes to your open door. A flower at your feet for each one who stands by your open door and says, come to me, offering to break this world's chain that binds us down to ignorance, suffering, and death. A flower at your feet for each one who takes the path that you have struck through this, your jungle world. Om, Amen, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace and beneficence be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai, Durga Durga Durga. May we be safe. May we be healthy. May we be cheerful. May we have peace of mind. May we be always in their loving and protective embrace. Jai Ma, Jai Pa, Jai Ma, Jai Sri Ramakrishna, Jai Thakur. So until we meet again, dears, tomorrow night, of course, we study Swami Ranganathananda's book, Divine Grace. That'll be at 7:30. And on noon on Saturday, we're studying Swami Prabhavananda's book, How to Know God, which is his commentary on Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, as translation and commentary. And then this coming Sunday, the talk will be One Dreamer, Three Dreams. one dreamer, three dreams. And of course, the conversation will all be within the context of Raja Yoga, since this is a month for the study of Raja Yoga. Anything else from any of you? And I hope to hear from you about anything at all you'd like to talk about. So, most of you have my phone number, I think. If not, just send me an email and I'll send it to you. Oh, well, there's no one here that I shouldn't say it to. So if you want to take it down, my cell phone number, which is the preferred number to call, is 818-913-0345. For those of you who are familiar with area codes, you can tell that's a number I brought with me from Southern California. 818-913-0345. So, anything else from anyone before we say goodnight? All right, dears, please take to heart what the Mother has offered us as presented by Swami Chaitananda. It is so deliberately organized and presented to us to give us what we need to have faith, devotion, and understanding. So, with much love, and we are doing a good job of studying the art of spirituality together. Good night.